Hello, hi, this is Zinky. I'm gonna keep it brief. Welcome to my video where I talk about my D&D character and her campaign. You probably need to watch the first one for context, since it's got her backstory and the like. Here you go, here's a card for that. Happy watching! Last we left off, it was night time in the city of Danz. Yvette had done the impossible, and she'd managed to avoid her master and leave his house, hopefully for good. She'd taken Harani with her, and the two of them hid in a seedy inn, preparing to see what could be done next, really. Being vampires, they did not expect the world to be anything but hostile. Their condition would have to be hidden. Easier for Yvette to do. Obviously she's not a vampire. Look at her. She's out in broad daylight. There was one more thing nagging at her, though. Many, perhaps. The main one was just... why? How? She was not supposed to be able to disobey orders, and yet she did. Was this some sort of blessing or divine help? Was Mulvine correct? Was her goddess actually looking after her? If she was, though, why leave her for so long in Thuscia's house? If she wasn't, why make her a Sunwalker at all? Whatever it was, whether she loved her or hated her, Yvette wanted closure. It was perhaps a good thing that the Solstice was coming up, the very next day. The people of her faith held one very important tradition. The center of the church, its heart, lay in the city of Danz, in the Sunstone Amphitheater. Every solstice, the goddess herself would make an appearance. Her ethereal form came down from the heavens, rested her hand on two nearby mountains, and offered to answer questions for a select few from the event. Anybody could attend, and the goddess herself would decide if she wanted to speak with them or not. Thus, Yvette made preparations. But she couldn't just show up like that. No, she was sure her master would be looking for her. So she went out early in the day and made a couple purchases. Some scissors, some robes, a bit of dye, and she couldn't see her own reflection, but she choppily cut her hair off, that precious long mane that he always liked having nicely combed and fine and silky looking. And she dumped a whole bottle of black dye on it. That'd do something to help her. The robes, fortunately, were also typically worn with a veil over her face. That was the style when she was an acolyte, and it had remained as such. Good. Nobody could see her red eyes then. She bought a few more things as well. A cheap copper ring that she had had the word mine engraved onto. A small trinket to remind her that she did not belong to that man, but to herself. She bought Harani a nice, pretty sundress too. She had had to auction off all of her pearls and fine silks that Thuscia made her wear, but she didn't want them anyway. Come the evening, Yvette left Harani at the inn, for she could not be out in the sun, and she made her way to the amphitheater. She stepped inside, and she stayed on the lower levels, with the people who wished to attempt to speak to the goddess. She'd watched the event once, when she was still alive, from upstairs. She had no questions to ask, she just wanted to witness. This time was different. There were two people in the event that stood out to her immediately. Guarding the door was somebody touched by the goddess herself. Not like Yvette presumably might have been, no. From birth, molded by her. A godchild, somebody whose birth had been affected by her. This person was blessed, divine by nature. A stark contrast to her undead nature. She was nothing. She was heresy in her mere existence, sacrilege, and they were everything she could never be. The other person that stood out to her was the priest officiating the ceremony. A tall, dragonborn man, dressed in the robes of the city of Talatana. He was not the high priest. The high priest, however, had gone missing. He was there to officiate the event in his stead. Yvette couldn't help but put two and two together. The elaborate robes, the wizened aura about him, the increased magical ability. Mulvine was the missing high priest, and Yvette was the only person that knew what happened to him. Well, to some degree. Even she herself did not know whether he was hiding from Thuscia, had been caught by Thuscia, or, she shuddered, worse, been turned by Thuscia. The time finally comes for the goddess to choose who she wishes to speak with. She shines a light on a couple people in the crowd, including both Yvette and the god-child. They get to ask a single word and a single question. A boy goes first. The goddess's lips part, and she says something only he can hear. One of the clay statues laid in the center of the amphitheater bursts. The god-child goes next. When they ask their question, the goddess smiles as she answers. Yvette follows. She asks the question, why? The goddess's lips don't part. She just stares down at her, and stares and stares and stares until all of the statues burst at once. It's frightening. She's just been rejected, hasn't she? Somebody in the crowd screams out. That's it, that's a vampire, that's a sunwalker. Yvette swivels around. It's one of the vampire hunters. She's heard of them before, but she's never had the fortune or misfortune of encountering them. The Vampire Hunters of Jaecelia, an organization founded when a single woman one day swore to kill every vampire in Verdania. The hunter walks over to her, grabs her by the wrist forcefully. She squeals and pleads to be let go. She doesn't know what he's talking about. Hang on, let go. No, she's not a vampire. Lord Danz said that there would be one today. The godchild intervenes, asking that she be let go. She should at least be treated like she's innocent until proven guilty. And she is very clearly incapable of harm. I mean, look at her, she's so frightened. The vampire hunter is made to let go of her and walk away. She says 1,000 thank yous, and the priest walks over. It's alright. He's got the divine magic to check for it. One of those spells that lets you tell if something's alive or undead or... Yvette squirms a little, makes a half-hearted excuse. The priest casts it anyway. No, it's quite alright. She's okay, he says. She sighs a sigh of relief, unsure of what just happened. She is undead. Why ever would that spell come back wrong? Clearly something just happened, though. He can give her counsel. Have you done anything that would have angered the goddess? Yvette's mind flashes to the many, many people she has drank from. She didn't want to, but she did it anyway. Does that count? She sheepishly nods. There are a couple things I'm not so very proud of. People I used to work for, and all. He nods, sagely. It appears you need to ask for forgiveness, girl. Properly. Go on a pilgrimage, the 2 mountains where she rests her hands. Go there, pray, and when you are done, come find me again. I should be here if you complete the task within the week, but given the travel time, you're probably better off coming to Talatana to find me. And you, Yuko. He turns to the godchild. That must be their name. Accompany her. Just to make sure. He takes the girl to rest a bit, away from the crowd who are all looking at her with such contempt. and he tells the godchild that he is not entirely certain of how committed to the faith she is. Keep an eye on her for me. So, Yvette and the godchild Iugo set out on a pilgrimage. This is not to say that Yvette has forgotten about Harani. How could she? She'd never. So she returns to her the night before they leave, and she tells her everything that's happened. She can't come with, because they travel during the day, it'd give their cover away. And yet still neither of them want to part. Many things are exchanged that night. Plans to meet up again, contingency plans should Thuscia regain control of either of them, and a confession. Almost. Harani doesn't quite have the heart to say it, but Yvette can tell. Yvette doesn't quite have the heart to say it back, for a different reason. They're not alive. They're not really people. They're just reanimated bodies running on stolen blood. And yet still, if there is such a thing as a love for vampires, she must be feeling it. Whatever the closest approximation of it she can make is. The pilgrimage is long and grueling. Yvette doesn't need to sleep, which is a boon. Not because she's a vampire, but because she has repurposed the magic her master thrust upon her. One of the things she learned to do with it is to deprive herself of the need to rest. That way, at night, she sneaks away and goes find something to eat. The godchild will never know. They travel on, to one mountain then the other, and at one of the temples at their base, she speaks to a man, a young man, a confessor. He can tell she's troubled and offers her the chance. She doesn't quite say everything. She doesn't want to be killed for being a vampire. So she just vaguely alludes to how many people she feels like she's hurt, even though she didn't want to, even though it was the person she worked for. He's compassionate and lifts her spirits a bit. Another thing they do is meet an adventuring party. Nearly wounded and beaten halfway to death, Yvette has just a little bit of magic that can help keep them alive, even though healing is not her specialty. As much as she wishes it would be, her magic is not divine, nor is it kind. It's cold and forceful, like Thuscia. Eventually, they find their way to the city of Talatana. Another character of note makes his way into the story at this point, more or less. A thief, who one night tries to steal Yvette's ring. It is during their travel that they butt heads, for the first, but not only time, with the inheritor of the Devour Moon. In recent years, Viridiana has seen the rise of this almost folk figure. A cloaked masked thief that will steal from you anything and everything of value. Doesn't matter if it's a simple trinket, or if it's a powerful magical item. If he fancies it, he will take it, and he will leave behind naught but a calling card. The party manages to rush the thief away, but not without him taking a banner from Iugo. Nevertheless, they make their way to Talatana. They rest up at the local temple, and they wind up making their way to the high castle of the city. The priest, Ezred is his name, does not actually live in the temple. He is getting quite old in his years, and so he has taken up residence in the high castle of Talatana. The two of them run into a problem. At the door there's an automata. It's not letting them in. It seems particularly not fond of Yvette. Ah well, they manage to get Ezred's attention. He opens the door, dismisses the automata, and invites them in. There is something of the decor that catches Yvette's eye. A portrait. A tall dragonborn, Ezred. A woman with pale skin and white hair. And a man. A man that looks just like Thuscia. He hasn't aged today, after all. Her eyes flit. She looks at the portrait. She looks at Ezred. He can tell something's wrong. And so, he pulls her in. if there's something she would like to confess, now's a good time to do so. Yuka leaves the room, and Yvette breaks down sobbing. He knows she's a vampire, he tells her. The spell didn't actually fail, Yvette. He was just lying to cover you. He knows what Thuscia has done. They used to be friends, but he also used to be a different man. He wasn't always like this, but he is undeniably and unmistakably a monster. And she is not but a girl he's hurt. How could he ever hold that against her? It's okay. The goddess doesn't hate her, he promises. She's just something else now, and that something else is unreachable to heavenly creatures. That's probably why the ritual didn't work during the solstice. She just can't reach you, and you just have to trust that she loves you anyway. Yvette isn't so sure about that. Nevertheless, he offers to keep her nicely fed. You don't have to just drink liquid blood all the time. Yes, your diet requires that you have mostly, if not entirely, blood. If you try to have a solid meal, your body will reject it, but... Oh, girl. Just have a plate of blood sausage, won't you? You don't need to sip away at a rat. The last thing he tells her is that she should consider being honest with Yuka. Wouldn't it be better if it was found out in her own terms? Oh well. Yvette has finished her pilgrimage, she supposes. But she agreed to meet up with Harani at the end, in this city. So it's all a matter of just finding each other, really. It is one night that following a lead, Yvette finds her. She is worried and twitchy, a little bit ratty, and accompanied by the adventuring party that Yvette saved. Isn't that a lucky coincidence? They're taking care of her now, and they can't stay together. They can't. No, go, because Yvette is so much more valuable, really, a sun-walking spawn. Thuscia's going to come after her. It's just safer for the two of them if they just don't. Just no. Yvette is sad. So sad, really. But, whatever. Their thing was never a romance. They're just two undead with echoes of whatever love was when they were alive. They keep going and going to see Ezret. But the city, the vampire hunters are on the move. They're coming and they're crowding it. Something has agitated them, something's changed, and they're all frantically going about. There's a caravan of them in the distance coming this way. Yvette is so afraid. But what's there even for her to do? She wanted to leave the country with Harani or find redemption or something, but there's just nothing. There's one thought that strikes her mind like lightning. She doesn't want what happened to her to happen to anybody else. Above all other things, Thuscia must be killed. He cannot be allowed to continue existing and imposing harm upon others. She's going to kill him, or at the very least have him killed. But she can't face him, she can't take him head on, she's too afraid, and she's not powerful enough. The hunters, however, if she could bargain with them somehow, she is inherently valuable. She's the Sunwalker. She's the vampire that can go out in the sun. Such a prized target in exchange of one thing, that they storm his manor and kill him. So, she turns to Yuka, and she says that they should give her to the hunters. She pulls off her veil and stares at them with big red eyes. They're a little horrified. Yeah, Yvette is paled and runs a little cold. She's got fangs, but all of those traits can be explained away with drow blood. The eyes, though. And Ezret knew to boot. But she walks in the sun. Well, yeah, she's blessed, they explain to them. Or something or other, Yvette remarks. She's not sure if it's a punishment or not.
After all, leaving her for so long with such a torturous man. Whatever the case, they should give her to the hunters. They could use that as a bargaining chip and get the manpower to just have that vampire lord killed. Ezra and Yuka are less than pleased by the idea. The former just tells her to please just live. And the latter, well, she's blessed, and the goddess told them, they must look after her. And so, Ezra tells the two of a magical being that might be the next step in their quest. It's called the Prismaquin, the magical embodiment of humanoid perception of light and color. And being the embodiment of light, it can attach itself to a vampire and give them resistance to it. Why, if Thuscia got his hands on such a creature, well, he'd be harder to kill than ever. It was recently stolen, you see. And so, they embark on a quest to find the Prismaquin. Yvette dyes her hair a new color, irony red, just so the hunters don't know that she's the same girl from the Solstice.
Hi, Inky from the outro here. If it sounds like I'm inside of a tin can, it's because I'm in my room, not in the closet where I usually record things. And I stepped out of the closet and turned on the AC, which you might be able to hear, because I was overheating. Badly. Which is coincidentally why this video ends in a cliffhanger. I also had a bit of a mental health thingamabob, but mostly it's the fact that I sat down to record this, and I'd been at it for a hot minute, and I was starting to overheat. I actually had like 10 more minutes of video that I wound up cutting out, because it was just bad. Just plain old bad. I was really overheating, and you could really tell that the quality of the voice was going down, and I was less clever in how I worded things. I don't fully script my stuff. So I decided to cut my losses. Something, Nintendo quote about a delayed thing being eventually good and a rushed thing being forever bad. Let's see, what else do I have to plug before the outro's over? Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you care about me getting a better setup, you can give me money on Coffee, and I can draw stuff for your money. You can commission me. You don't have to give me free money. I am currently trying to get commissioned to help me save up for a computer. But if that became real, I could maybe get some soundproofing. I could maybe get a better microphone. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Because then I wouldn't have to record in the closet.